Will Bidenomics cripple Joe Biden's chances at a second term? Plus, Patrick Bet David was over on Club Random, Bill Maher's podcast, where Bill Maher says he's a libertarian and explains why. And yeah, we got to talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you live from our Cardio Miracle studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. Cardio Miracle. Yes, folks, the Cardio Miracle difference is real. What is that difference? Lower blood pressure, better sleep, better pump at the gym, all that and more are things I've experienced myself because I've been using Cardio Miracle for about 7 months now. And yeah, I've seen the Cardio Miracle difference for myself. So if you want to jump on board with the tens of thousands of other users of Cardio Miracle like yours truly and experience the amazing benefits of nitric oxide, well, head to the show notes and click the link. It'll bring you right over to our amazing partner, Cardio Miracle. And be sure to use code TBNS at checkout where you're going to save 15% off your order. And by the way, there's nothing to lose because you have a 100% money back guarantee. So one more time, link in the show notes or in the video description, or just head to briannicholsshow.com/heart. Start your heart health journey today with Cardio Miracle. And yes, the Brian Nichols Show, we are in fact powered by AMP America. Thank you to the amazing team over at AMP America. Really excited to have them as a part of the team and also very excited to be a part of the AMP America family. So please go check out AMP America over at ampamerica.com. And for today's episode, a little bit different of an episode. First, we're going to start out talking about Bidenomics, which has been touted, was at least by the Biden administration as being something to be proud of. This booming economy. I keep on hearing about, I don't know if booming is the right word to use, but we're going to discuss that. Plus, over on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast, a familiar voice in the more right-leaning political world, one Patrick Bet David joined the podcast, and it was a little bit of a contentious conversation, candidly. And frankly, I think Patrick Bet David ended up coming out of that podcast looking like he was the host and Bill Maher was the guest. But there's one very interesting part of that conversation I wanted to highlight today where Bill Maher is actually pushed on his libertarian ideas, his libertarian so-called principles. And we get to actually see, is Bill Maher a libertarian? I think the answer will not surprise many of you. And for some of you out there who maybe were defending Bill Maher as a libertarian, well, hold on. Don't get your hopes up. Let's just say that. So to start things off today, we're going to go ahead and discuss Bidenomics. And let's kind of dig into why this is a topic of conversation, because the Biden administration, they've been facing increasing criticism over their handling, not just of the economy, but frankly, the manner in which Americans are having to struggle facing high inflation and soaring costs. And yet, the White House is attempting to paint somehow a rosier picture through this idea of Bidenomics. This is it has been the new thing that they've been promoting as, I guess, some way of saying things aren't that bad. Actually, things are going pretty good. But let's kind of be real here. The facts on the ground contradict the administration's claims that things are getting better. Because one just needs to go to the grocery store and see that costs have remained elevated for the most basic of goods as inflation hovers near 40-year highs. What does that mean? Millions of families have seen energy and fuel prices surge over the past 2 years. And this is the part that is insane. Gas is costing more than 60 to 70% per gallon when compared to January of 2021. Interest rates, they've spiked, meaning what? Car payments and other financed big ticket purchases like a house now are considerably more expensive today versus just a few short years ago. Simply put, folks, ordinary Americans are feeling the pinch across the household budget items, across the board at that. But the Biden administration wants to gaslight people into believing otherwise through this promotional gimmick like Bidenomics, obviously playing on Reaganomics. But the reality is that it's the reckless government spending and money printing policies pursued by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress that have directly helped fuel higher inflation. Because their answer is to now expect American families to shoulder the burden and pain needed to get rising prices under control. The rising prices directly caused by their policies. And we can't, of course, forget everybody's favorite, the Federal Reserve, which has been now raising interest rates aggressively in order to help rein in inflation, which, yes, is absolutely necessary. However, the side effect is that policy tightening also slows down economic growth and makes borrowing much more costly, both for the business owners, but looking at consumers as well. So here's the reality. Americans are not only having to deal with sky-high grocery bills, sky-high electric bills, sky-high heating bills, and gas bills, but now they're having to do so completely at the whim of misguided federal government policy. So now the very interest rate hikes that are required to correct the policy mistakes are also going to restrain people's ability to finance major purchases going forward. So that means home loans, auto loans, credit card rates will all steadily rise thanks to, by and large, the Fed's actions. So while the Fed certainly is recognizing the economic pain that this is going to continue to inflict on typical households, they have really little choice if runaway inflation is in fact to be contained. By flooding the economy with all the stimulus checks back at the beginning of COVID and ramping up spending to unprecedented, godly peacetime records, the Biden administration made this painful monetary policy remedy inevitable. So, what is perhaps most frustrating to most, if not all, Americans is that the Biden administration's refusal to take accountability for this economic calamity that they have unleashed. And at no point has the White House even said or hinted at the fact that the excessive spending that Democrats continue to support and the expansion of the national debt have all backfired and, in fact, led to the economic catastrophe we are facing today, nor are they admitting that the giant tax and spending bills that they're passing year after year, look at the Inflation Reduction Act, LOL, how those have failed to reduce inflation whatsoever. Instead, Biden administration officials are angrily defending themselves when pressed on by these clear, obvious policy failures. That's what they are. They're failures. Or they try to offer some distraction tactics by claiming that, well, we're fixing all these supposed problems that they don't really exist. I don't know. All the while avoiding the true economic pains that are happening across America in reaction to this crazy high inflation environment. So the administration continues to push this narrative that wage growth is strong, while yes, it's true that hourly earnings have increased solidly on a year-over-year basis. It's overlooking two critical points. First, the majority of pay gains enjoyed by workers have been gobbled up by inflation, or they actually remain below the rate of inflation. So the actual buying power and real wages that employees have, at best, it just keeps pace for certain segments of the labor market. And for many other workers, the actual purchasing power has declined as the pay hikes still lag rising consumer costs. Number two, by historical standards, the current pace of wage growth is actually quite typical in the late stage of an economic expansion when the labor market is exceptionally tight. It's actually not at all uncommon to observe like a 5 to 6% annual pay increases when the unemployment rate is as low as it is now. And the wage growth seems slightly better than usual because there's actually 10 million job openings right now in the country that allows workers greater leverage to find higher paying jobs or negotiate better terms with current employers. So that's to set things off here, why this is such a calamity when you're looking at the Biden administration and their promoting of the idea of Bidenomics and inflation. But also, there is a growing rejection of Biden as a credible leader And I think there's also more to this, where it's signaling that, yeah, we're seeing another establishment political dynasty falling out of favor with voters. Names like Biden, Clinton, Bush, these names, they've wielded enormous power and influence in Washington, D.C., and frankly, within the two major parties for what, decades at this point. And yet now all of them are facing backlash after years of perceived, dare I say, exposed corruption, self-dealing, and of course, political dishonesty while in those halls of power. And younger generations seem especially fed up with this pattern of former presidents and senators and other high-ranking senior officials all cashing in through six-figure speeches to Wall Street banks and foreign governments, and all of a sudden just getting massive book deals once they leave office. Yeah, the status quo of doing business is now broadly seen as more or less enablement for the rich and privileged, and really for only those who are well connected, with more political competition being driven by populist outsiders, combined with the far greater access to unfiltered information online. Your average American of all ideological stripes is actually starting to appear ready to move on from these entrenched establishment families, these political royal dynasties. The reality, or even just the preconceived reality of the quid pro quo between long tenured politicians and special interests, carries a stench that voters have signaled they 1000% want eliminated. So whether it's nostalgia and name recognition that's going to be enough to carry Joe Biden into his second term, that remains to be seen. But the bigger picture here suggests that the sun is in fact finally setting on a lot of these multi-generational political dynasties that have dominated national affairs in the United States for decades on end. So that's my thoughts when it comes to Biden, inflation, Bidenomics, and also the political dynasties. And now we have to go ahead and talk about, yes, Bill Maher and Patrick Bet-David, PBD's appearance over on Club Random. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we're going to go ahead and check out this clip that I wanted to share. There we go. And let's check this out here.
Why are you a libertarian, by the way? Well, libertarian is a label.
You said, I'm just saying it because you said it earlier, you're a libertarian.
Libertarian on issues that are, I think, appropriate for libertarians. I would never say that anymore. I'm a libertarian because there's a Libertarian Party and they take it too far.
The Libertarians and the Libertarian Party, they take it too far. And wait to hear how far they actually take it.
They believe in, stuff like, well, they shouldn't have meat inspectors. If I get E. coli from this meat, it'll get around and then no one will buy this type of meat again. Thank you, free market. Really stupid shit.
See, now he says really stupid shit. That is a really stupid shit of a straw man argument, because that's not what libertarians are saying. As a matter of fact, now Bill is tongue-in-cheek hinting at the free market reality, but nobody wants E. coli in their meat. There is an incentive in place not to get your customer, your consumer, sick. So even though he's poking fun and trying to build this straw man, it's just like that stupid joke you used to hear. It was like, was it Ayn Rand, Rand Paul, and Paul Ryan walk into an unregulated bar. The bartender gives them their drink and they die because it was laced with like arsenic, because it was an unregulated bar. And it's like supposed to say, tongue in cheek, look at those stupid libertarians. They don't realize that without laws that everybody would be killing everybody. Because that's how it works. That's how things have worked for literally generations after generations, government or not. We just go out and we kill each other with the items that we sell, because that's what happens when you sell a product or a service, is that you want to harm your consumer. God, Bill's an idiot.
Stop me from going down the road unfettered. Who needs traffic lights? I want to soar like an eagle, right through the windshield.
It's so stupid. And this is the part, people like Bill Maher, that just really irritate me, is that he thinks he's so clever in this. He thinks that this is so witty, it's so highbrow. Like, look at me. I'm so much smarter as a what I define as a libertarian versus these actual libertarians who They believe what they say. Can you stomach the fact that these libertarians actually believe in libertarianism? That'd be like saying that those silly communists actually believe in communism. What? Say it ain't so, Bill.
They just became fringe, and they're not making things better. And by the way, most of it has been just co-opted by sensible people. Pot was, back in the day, was 30 years ago when I was first on.
By the way, this is why Republicans used to say that, or no, was it Democrats used to say that libertarians are just Republicans who like pot, right? This is why, because people like Bill Maher would promote this, that like this is the libertarian thing, making pot legal. That's it. That's libertarianism, right? Just do my own thing. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. That's it. That's all it is. Is it?
On television, pot was much more a libertarian issue because it wasn't legal anywhere for any reason. Now that's so different. I used to be paranoid about traveling with it. Now I don't worry at all because if they bust me in Oklahoma or somewhere, they will be embarrassed, not me. So that's a big change. So in a lot of ways, libertarians achieved a lot of what we wanted. Other ways, Fourth Amendment stuff, no. I mean, the privacy issues are paramount in my mind. I'm sure they are for you too. I mean, especially as a businessman I'm sure you have stuff that if it was hacked would be not good. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, of course. No question about it.
Yes. I don't have shit like that because I'm not dirty. What do you got?
No, I'm not worried about it either. But so based on that, you would say you're more a Democrat than a libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, again, these are labels.
These are labels, but labels are important, Bill, especially when you're the one self-assigning the labels in this case. Bill's the one who used to say, I'm a libertarian. It's like, but you're not, Bill. You're using the word because at the time it was what I don't even say it's politically sexy, because it's never been sexy to be a libertarian, but it was edgy, right? You weren't a Republican, you weren't a Democrat, you were, I'm this thing, I'm a libertarian, and you didn't actually look to understand what it meant. By the way, this greater podcast, go and listen to the greater podcast here between PBD and Bill Maher, because during the podcast, I couldn't believe how PBD was able to expose how unread and not up to date Bill Maher is on so many important issues, like talking about Gavin Newsom as governor of California, and Bill saying he's a winner and he could be a great president, or at least he could win for the nomination as president. And PBD saying, well, what are you defining as great? Like, what's your metrics for winning? And Bill's like, oh, I haven't really paid attention to it. You just went out saying, I think the guy is great. And now you're going to excuse away saying, oh, I really haven't done any research. That's just a cop-out. It's so easy to make this grand declarative statement and then to hide behind, well, I'm just a comedian. I didn't really actually do much research. Oh, why are you asking me all the details? Because details matter when you're the one going out and making the grand statement. So unless you want to actually talk details, don't make the grand statement.
I don't belong to a party. I assess every candidate individually. Does that have?
By the way, wait till you hear the candidate that he would have voted for, and as a libertarian, your eyes are going to roll to the back of your head.
Has that resulted in me voting Democrat just about every time? Yeah, because I just generally thought, oh, Bill Clinton, way better than George Bush, way better than Bob Dole. Al Gore, yeah, better than Bush. Yep.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with physical products. It's Amazon's other company, Audible.
John Kerry, yes, better than Bush. Obama, better than McCain, yes, better than Romney. Just down the line. Trump, and it got easy. Trump, Hillary, Trump, anybody.
It got so easy.
So, but I always look. I will always shop around. I could have voted for McCain if he had like the 2000 McCain. I think I could have voted for him.
Why is that?
He ran in 2000. The things were just not as partisan. I mean, there were things he did that I loved that were very nonpartisan.
I'm going to stop there. I just, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Right? We do final thoughts here in the show when we have guests on. No guests today, just me, but I'll do a final thought. When people tell you who they are, believe them. Bill Maher's telling us who he is. He's not a libertarian. He's a Democrat. He said as much. When he's going through and outlining why he's a quote unquote libertarian, it's not because of libertarian ideas. It's because he was looking to be against the current thing. And he even kind of articulates as much earlier on in the podcast, where he talks about all the times he's been canceled or the times he's been fired, because he's more or less just trying to say the most outrageous thing at the most outrageous time. Listen to Biden. When Biden tells you who he is, and you listen to the administration tell you who they are and what they believe them. They want you to be gaslit into believing the economy is great. They want you to believe and be gaslit into thinking that Bidenomics is actually coming here to save the day. They want you to be gaslit into believing that the prices you're looking at the grocery store, they're not real. Those are fake, evil grocery store prices brought to you by Russia. Yeah, that's, folks, at the end of the day, what we need to take away from this episode. When folks tell you who they are, believe them. When you have some libertarians, I'm going to use the word libertarian very loosely here. Maybe we'll say classically liberal, as they self-identify themselves. Folks on Twitter saying, I'm a David Bowes libertarian. Believe them. Believe them. And that's okay. You want to be that? That's cool. I know where your priorities are, right? That's why I'm a Ron Paul libertarian. So when people tell you who they are, believe them. We are Ron Paul libertarians here on the Brian Nichols Show. Why? Because you look back to what Ron Paul has been saying for 40, 50 years. It's all been right. It's all been shown to be correct. Ron Paul has a track record I would put against any politician in DC over the past 50 years. Guaranteed. No questions asked. That's why I'm a Ron Paul libertarian. And because Ron Paul actually had a platform to message what libertarianism was. You have all these David Boas libertarians who question, where's my platform? Why aren't people listening to me? Because you're not meeting them where they're at. You're meeting yourself where you're at, and all the people around you who think like you do. Great. That doesn't solve anything. That doesn't actually accomplish anything. And frankly, it's why the Libertarian Party has been relegated to third place for 40 plus years. Because when you do the same thing over and over and over again, guess what? That is the definition of insanity. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep doing the same thing and hoping for a different result? Or are we going to try things a little differently? Are we going to try to meet people where they're at on the actual issues they care about, not what we want them to care about? The issues that are priorities to them, not what we feel should be priorities to them. Stop telling them what they need to care about and start asking them what they care about. That's where we win. And that's where you, if you are saying you're wrong, Brian, that's where you will continue to lose. So we'll wrap things up there. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. I got a lot of value. I hope you did as well. If you did, please go ahead, share today's episode. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me on X.com, formerly Twitter, as well as over on Facebook, where we also are sharing a lot of reels, YouTube shorts, all that kind of fun stuff. So go ahead, give us some love over there. And also, if you want to go ahead and find the Brian Nichols Show, yes, on your favorite video platform, go to your YouTubes, your Rumble, Ben Swan's Sovereign, SOVREN, or X.com. You can catch the Brian Nichols Show in its video format in its entirety on all four platforms. Wherever it is you're watching the Brian Nichols Show, please hit that subscribe button, click that little like button, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single time we drop a new episode or go live. If you like your shows in the audio format, well, no worries. Brian Nichols Show is wherever it is you consume your podcast content. YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I Like Podcast Addict, wherever it is you get your podcast. Do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Beyond hitting that subscribe button, go and download all unplayed episodes. Besides helping support the show and helping boost some numbers there, you're also going ahead and getting a chance to dig through over 800 episodes that are in the archives with some amazing guests ranging from elected officials, economists, business owners, and more, and all that in between. And what are we talking about when we have these folks in the show? We're talking about the specific problems that we're identifying and bringing real solutions to the table. Yes, sometimes through the realm of government, but predominantly through private sector solutions in a manner that doesn't need a vote by some air quote democratic body. No, we are able to do these things right now, being solutionaries out there, to give some props to our good friend Maj Torre. So folks, please, if you are enjoying the episodes, beyond sharing the episodes, beyond obviously listening and supporting the show, please support our sponsors, because those are the folks who support the Brian Nichols Show. So with our amazing sponsors over at Cardio Miracle, Ebles, Liquid Freedom, Blood of Tyrants, BNC Technology Advisors, and more, please go ahead and support the folks who support us. They help us keep the lights on where we have our studio space, pay for all of our streaming, get the internet, all the stuff that goes into, producing a nationally syndicated podcast and a YouTube channel. So, folks, with that being said, I have had a great conversation today with you, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversations as much as I have enjoyed giving it to you. That's what she said. With that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.